Hi guys, today we're going to be drawing a beautiful Roddy dog using GlassEye 2000. You can find that at the World Wide Web .dfly.com. So you're going to open GlassEye. You don't have to close whatever you were working on. You can open a new file. Then you are going to go to File, Add Background, Find Your Picture. This was sent in by one of my followers on my Facebook page. Now, you really only have to worry about here, the sizing. For drawing purposes, you want to have it as big as you possibly can. And you can crop your selected area, which will help bring in the image even better. So then after you're happy with that, hit OK. So you've got a pretty big image here. And the neat thing about this is it does not mess up the pixels. So the picture is exactly what the picture is. It's not going to be all blurry and pixelated. So you want to have your grid on. You can turn it on. And some people like to know how big those grid squares are. So you go to View and View Properties. Mine are usually sit at 1 inch, but I also like to know where the 1/2 inch is. So you want to put your block size to 2, and your horizontal vertical spacing is at 1. This shows you a square of 1 inch, and then the 4 squares inside indicating 1/4 inch each. So if you hold down your Shift key and use your wheel on your mouse, you'll be able to bring in the image closer. Shift and wheel mouse down towards you, then you can move it away from you. So make sure your knots are on, and then select your curve tool. This is how you're going to draw. So let's start with a basic outline. So you just want to make clicks. You need a click just before a turn and a click just after a turn. That will hold the curve in the line that you're working with. Now you can see that I just went across the bit of the ear. That I did that on purpose so that I can keep a nice loop as I come back up. Also, as you've noticed, my lines are green. This is so that you can see when you're drawing on black. Otherwise, you get line properties, change it to black. It may be difficult for you to see while I'm recording, and if you're tired, it's really difficult for you to see normal. So I'm going to change my lines again. I'm actually going to make them white so you can see better. So just continue from your last knot and go back up. One thing I didn't change on my line properties there. So you can see where I had drawn and then where I'm currently drawing. This is really useful if you want to go back and take out sections. Forgive me if I don't narrate while I'm drawing. I will narrate as I change tools. This is a new program that I'm working with that I purchased to be able to show you how to draw better. Usually have a lot of interest in how to use GlassEye, and this is how I'm going to start doing videos. So if you take the focus away from your eye a little bit, you will be able to see the lines that are blurry. So I don't like where this knot is placed. I'm going to right click and choose undo last knot. And that's going to get me back here. This puppy's head is tilted a little bit. Now I'm going to scroll in here, or zoom in, and show you this line overlaps quite a bit right there. So I'm going to go to my add knot and put a knot right there. Then my pick tool, which is the arrow, and I'm going to take out the overlapping line. If you have overlapping lines, you won't be able to color your image later. If you don't like something that you've done, you can completely erase it by right-clicking and hitting cancel. So I'm going to play with those ears later as I fine-tune the details. So we have the basic structure of the dog already started. Obviously a very healthy dog. Look at the shine in his coat. Just use your wheel mouse towards you to bring the image down when you run out of drawing space. And double click ends your line. So I typically draw a line using the natural connection points in their image. By that, if you look here, you'll see where the black connects to the caramel color. So as I selected several sections of that line, I just hold the control key down on my keyboard and then I hit delete, and that takes that section out. I'm not too worried about the cutting ability of lines at the moment. I'll adjust those as I go through and put shadows and highlights. I just want to get the structure of the dog in here. So in a second, I'm going to go back up to the face. Get the details of the eyes and his nose. As much as you want to throw circles in there for the eyes, do a little bit of research on the natural eye shape of humans and different animals, and you will see that they're not always round. So right here, right in this area right there, you're going to see as you scroll in that that knot is not touching the next knot. What you need to do here, and if you try to color that, it's going to color your entire piece as opposed to just one piece. So if you scroll down close, that knot, even though it doesn't realistically move any further closer to itself, you'll see now it is attached, and if I try and color it, it will stay exactly where I wanted it to. Try not to get into the habit of coloring as you go, because you actually take out a lot of the ability to see what you're drawing. Now you can put your settings also so that it's going to save for you automatically every few minutes. It's going to save you a lot of problems here and there. Now let's turn off our image. I'm going to select all and turn those lines black. So this is currently our drawing. I'm going to turn my grid off so that you can see exactly what it looks like for right now. I'm going to put my lines back so that you can see them. Turn my knots back on. It helps to scroll in and out every so often just to see what you've accomplished. I'm going to grab this hand tool and yank this line over here. So just grab hold of it, left click, and drag it into position. I don't know if you can see it there. The line had a really bright knot right there. There's another one up here. And here's another one. Left click, drag, drop, put it in place. If you select all, you'll find where your knots are bright. A bright white dot means it's not connected. See the difference between this one? Maybe you can't. See the difference here? Where it's bright white and grayed out. The bright white one means that it's not connected. If you scroll in, zoom in, then your lines will stop moving and joining onto other lines. It's called a snap. You do have to connect all your knots and lines for your numbering to make sense and for the ability to be able to color each piece individually. So now we're going to add some details in here. Breaking up some of those longer cuts. I'm going to change all my lines to 3/32. Click as default, and this way you'll be able to see them better. For my own patterns, I often use the solid line, because if you're cutting out with pattern shears, it will make the correct spacing for your foil, or your lead for that matter. Let's go finish those eyes. You see those two dots? Now clearly this is going to be a nasty attempt at cutting, so you're going to want to break that up a little bit. When it comes to coloring the Roddy, you're going to find that a lot of the colors are actually in the blue tones. There's not a lot of black glass out there. This tool up here is an erase tool. It looks like a little pencil, so that you can erase lines that you don't want. So think about your coloring as you're going about making your lines. Now I rather like the way this works for his nose right there, and just to show you, I could select individual by holding down the control key and selecting each individual line. Zoom in. Now you can go up to File or Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, Modify, and Flip. That'll give you an exact replica of the other side. If you do that, sometimes it works, sometimes it looks silly because the dog is not symmetrical. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so you gotta use a little bit of eyeballing techniques. Scroll out and take a sense of how the dog would look naturally. We're getting pretty close to being finished with his face. Got a lot of coloring going on there. And here comes an intro. Hi guys. Today we're going to be drawing a beautiful Roddy dog using GlassEye 2000. You can find that at the World Wide Web .dfly.com. So you're going to open GlassEye. You don't have to close whatever you were working on. You can open a new file. Then you are going to go to File, Add Background, Find Your Picture. This was sent in by one of my followers on my Facebook page. Now, you really only have to worry about here, the sizing. For drawing purposes, you want to have it as big as you possibly can. And you can crop your selected area, which will help bring in the image even better. So then after you're happy with that, hit OK. So you've got a pretty big image here. And the neat thing about this is it does not mess up the pixels. So the picture is exactly what the picture is. It's not going to be all blurry and pixelated. So you want to have your grid on. You can turn it on. And some people like to know how big those grid squares are. So you go to View and View Properties. Mine are usually sit at 1 inch. But I also like to know where the 1/2 inch is. So you want to put your block size to 2, and your horizontal vertical spacing is at 1. This shows you a square of 1 inch, and then the 4 squares inside indicating a 1/4 inch each. So if you hold down your Shift key and use your wheel on your mouse, you'll be able to bring in the image closer. Shift and wheel mouse down towards you, then you can move it away from you. So make sure your knots are on, and then select your curve tool. This is how you're going to draw. So let's start with a basic outline. So you just want to make clicks. You need a click just before a turn and a click just after a turn. That will hold the curve in the line that you're working with. Now you can see that I just went across the bit of the ear. That I did that on purpose so that being prompted to save. Okay. The jowls are pretty good. So we'll go down here and add some tones and highlights. Now, depending on what glass you use, you may choose to not draw in so many different lines and sections. If you want to go with a spectrum's Baroque with the black and white, you don't need half of these lines. But since Spectrum is no longer, and apparently the new distributor will be discontinuing the Baroque line, that might be extremely hard to get your hands on any. Now, generally, the chest of an animal has some definition in there. Don't forget to connect your dots. You can see them really well when the green color is active for your lines. Think of his foot and how the toes will look. Okay. Turn off the knots. Make the lines black. And you have a very detailed Roddy dog. Now if you look up here, you'll see that right away that's not going to be a very easy cut. So I'm going to fix that. Change that line to black. And turn off those knots again. Have a look over your pieces. Got a heart right here. Now this here is a pretty big line as well, or pretty big piece to cut. And we have almost no highlighting drawn in for here. looking for any of those knots that aren't joined. Now if you aren't sure, then scroll in a little bit. There's one right there, there's one right there. I'm going to hit one. I'm going to show you help and suggest. You can have very small pieces, overlap lines, unattached to nearby lines, and missing where lines cross. So hit continue, and it's showing me that to form a line where these two lines meet, you'll see how that they crisscross right there. So I'm just going to take out one of them. Go back to suggest, hit continue, no suggestions. The program will miss one or two here and there, but we see it, so we're going to fix it. All right, so we can go into coloring now. So I need to have a frame around this, or it's not going to color the lines or the pieces. I'm purposely leaving the upper part of the dog without a frame, because I don't know if I want this to be square, rectangle, or oval as a cameo. So I may not need most of the lower part. I'm going to turn off my knots, turn on the color, and now you get to select glass. Obviously we want black right to begin with. So if you double click on your color palette here, you can choose your color. Now hit glass. This is going to open all the available glass. You either check or uncheck the types of glass available to you, or your favorite glass. And when you hit OK, well, now if you can see my paint can doesn't want to color at all. It'll color down here, but not up here. That indicates that I have either a knot that's not attached or an overcrossed line. And there is a knot not attached right there. I don't want that line to jump, so I'm going to scroll right up, zoom right in, and this one is crossing over, so I'm going to put a knot right there. Unfortunately, right there, turn those knots off. Now this will let me color that section. I see down here okay, paint can again. You can go back and get your coloring going. I don't like the way this makes the bone look disjointed by not having a highlighted section there. Go and choose another shade. And I want maybe to have a blue influence to this, so you want to go into the slate gray tones. This one is a Kokomo opalescent of steel blue, which probably, oh, this one colored too. You see that? Again, another indication of a knot that isn't attached, and we'll fix that. I don't like that coloring. Depending on your edition, you can hit zoom and choose the width of inches that the color palette is showing to you. Still don't like it. Too light. There's too much blue. Much better. By holding your shift key and clicking, left click, that will pull up your other color. So shift, left click, and you can choose your color. Stops you from having to go over and back and over and back. So I'm just doing the darker sections in this steel blue. Now, if you want a similar tone to what you're using, double click on that same one that you just had. It'll bring that up as the highlight. Check my size, I'm good. if you find that it is still not the right color for what you want, go select another one. Let's get these eyes colored in. So you're probably wondering, if I keep changing the colors over here, how am I going to know what colors I've used? Well, it's pretty easy. So I'm going to go up to View, Color Properties, and Match Palette to Design. Automatically, the colors that I've used are here, and you'll see that the highlighted colors are each, that's where the glass is. Let's get some of this tan color going. Finding the right tan. Maybe a brown opal. No. But you can see how that selecting that one gave me a better choice. I'm going to go to zoom and I'm going to switch this one, rotating it. Oh, that's better. And this is actually a brownish color in here. So you want to turn your photo, your background, off, and then you can see the different spots that aren't colored in. I'm going to go to his eyes here. Let's give him a set of nice brown chocolate eyes. And an off-white for the reflection of the camera in his pupils. So again, shut your photo off and you can see that we now have a dog. A very detailed dog. Oh, look at that. We forgot his toes. Don't forget to save your work. So you want to see the comparable, highlight it, grab your pick tool, and drag. Left click and drag. Let go. So there you've got a side by side. Check to see what doesn't match. I'm kind of not liking this bit here. Oh, that's better. Okay. So you're satisfied with that. You want to show your customer. I'm not satisfied up here. Alrighty. So save your work, go to File, Export Design, and it will magically export a JPEG image under the same file name that you had given it to save. And that's it. You're done. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again.